I want to start with an exclusive look at Houston Metro Police's new leader, Chief Tien. Sworn in on Friday afternoon, Tien becomes the first Asian American to lead the department. Our Owen Conflenti sat down with him to find out what his priorities are as he leads the department.
A smart leader, a wise leader, will at least need to go in the organization first to quickly assess, what's going on, and then formulate a plan and make sure those folks that is going to go and carry out those plans to buy in that plan, right? But the most important thing too is we talk about priorities. I need to understand the priorities, what they are. Now I could generically speak a public safety, right? Integration, keeping riders safe, collaboration, partnership, all those are priorities. But I really need to sit down we need to be focused on all our priorities. So with that said, I will have to meet with at least the board and my bosses to establish what the priorities are. And after those are established, I need to see what the community really needs. Public safety is a pretty generic term. I need to go specifically, hey, this part of town, wow, or this particular train line, whatever that may be, right? Because the truth is, out of 300 officers, I don't have the resources to send every single cop to every station. I don't have that. So it has to be driven by intelligence, by data, and by stats. So to establish the priorities, I have to understand that first.
And sounds like part of the reason you were hired is your experience with HPD and the mayor's desire for these agencies to work more closely together. What's your thought on that?
No, that is the mayor's is spot on. The resources are diminishing, and it's going to take a little while to hire the staffing that we need. Perhaps even in the far future, we may not have the staff that we need per agency. But when we unite our effort, this is the key. Now, I think the mayor is extremely spot on when he mentioned something earlier. You just got to focus, listen to what he said. He made it clear. We integrate state, the constable, the school district. HPD have about 5,000 police officers. Metro has about 300. And you're adding all those agencies in the hundreds, the 1,000 in the Harris County, those going to be tens, or perhaps tens of thousands, right? But the most important thing, not just the collaboration and the interagency partnership that's important, it's also the community too. Police agency can come in thousands, but there are millions of people that live in this region, can be the eyes and ears, and tell us what the problems are so we collectively as a group can target those problems. But perhaps a few months down the road, then you ask me what the priorities are, what is your plan, and I can with a high level of specificity to lay out those plans. But right now, there's still a huge learning curve. I need to go in and quickly evaluate and formulate a plan. But the goal is for me to go out there and how to do it quick. Purpose, direction, and motivation. Now I will say this. This is I will put that out there. I know perhaps a lot of my officers in Metro, they want to know what kind of chief I am, and they probably did the same thing that you did, try to go to open source and try to dig up some stories, Facebook, Twitter, whatever that may be. And sadly, I don't think they're gonna find much because I'm a pretty private person, right? But you really want to know who Tien is. It's real simple. You can Google that. Google the Army Non-Commissioned Officer Creed and read it. It started with no one is more professional than I, and that is my playbook, and that's who I am.
What would you say to any rider out there, someone who says, or maybe they're not, maybe they say, I'm too scared to ride the buses and the rail system, and they're looking at you now to change that?
I tell them, don't be. Tien is committed. As I mentioned by my previous bosses, those 18, 20 hours, because I believe in the mission. I believe in keeping the rider safe. So give me a chance, but just don't let me tell you right now. Let me show you. But I do want to remind everyone too. Sometimes it's the tricky thing with law enforcement is it's really not the crime itself is the biggest fear. It's also the fear of crime, right? So if you have any questions, come to me, come to Metro. Well, we're more than happy to answer those questions. So just to telegraph slightly, in the future, we're going to, like I mentioned earlier, right, this is not just a law enforcement collaboration partnership. We include the community, the business to bring and have those similar town hall meetings and stuff like that. So what I know when my rails go into a certain part of a segment of the neighborhood, I need to get some feedback from them. So I can say those are facts we're addressing, or those are just all, untrue, right? So we can mitigate all of that from the beginning.
And joining us live in Studio A this morning, our Owen Conflenti. What an upstanding guy.
Man, I'll tell you what, a lot of people say, hey, what are you doing downtown on a Friday afternoon? I said, I have an opportunity to meet and in person and speak with Tien, this new chief of police for Metro. And like any interview, you go in doing some background, trying to figure out who this is. Of course, his story's been well documented, his immigrant story. He rose up through the ranks of HPD. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know where to go with that. He was just an inspiring individual. I asked him, are you living the American dream? He says, I have been since I was 18. But anyway, we talked about a lot, and it was a really, really nice ceremony.
I remember Owen and I were chatting too. It was more than a year ago he came in on this broadcast talking about, his place in the department and what he hopes to do then at the time. And I remember, a big part of that conversation too was the piece of the puzzle in which he fits and where he stands and his hope, but also that level of transparency. And you heard that too. He talked about, hey, if you really want to find out who I am, this is where you go and this is what you do. There's no secrets here.
And I feel like that's what you're going to get from him as chief as well. He's very clear that he wants to go in and figure out what needs to be done. There's no preconceived notions where he's got something that, he wants to go talk with the people that he's working with. He doesn't see himself as some savior hero that's coming in to save the day. He knows because of his story. He served in the Army. He's been with HPD. He knows how a team should be put together. And you really need the input of everybody involved to ultimately do the right thing and reach that goal.
And a good leader embodies those types of qualities.
I want to say one thing too, because the word you hear a lot of is cooperation. The mayor talked through the campaign and then into his inauguration about he wants his law enforcement agencies to work more closely together. In fact, if the mayor could have it his way, he'd put them all under one department. That's not the case at this point, and we don't know if it'll happen. But in terms of cooperation, here's a guy who spent a majority of his career with HPD. He knows that system, Tien, now the chief of Metro. His wife is a commander with HPD.
Wow.
So you talk about cooperation. The mayor joked about it at the ceremony too. He's like, hey, every night, at the dinner table, they're going to be talking and cooperating and collaborating,
right?
More importantly. Maybe that's the word, collaborating, maybe more than cooperating.
No, but also cooperation too with the different agencies, of course, his team. Truly an inspiration. Yeah. Really is.